Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Allison. Typically I film vlog style videos, but today's going to be a little bit different. I've received so many requests to talk about this topic, and I have a lot of resourceful videos on my channel, I'd say, about fashion merchandising and different things you can do with the degree, and I know it brings a lot of new people into my channel, so I wanted to kind of do like a follow-up update video to that and talk about how I got my job in retail buying. Getting a job post-grad is hard, and I'm here to share all of my tips. If you haven't watched my previous videos on fashion merchandising and you're interested, I'll link them all down below, but I have some super informative videos about what you can do with a fashion merchandising degree, a college day in my life being a fashion merchandising major, and there's just a ton of resourceful information on my channel, so I'll try to link all of those down below. But if you've already seen those, or if you're just stumbling across this video, hello, welcome. My name is Allison. I currently live in Denver, Colorado. I'm 24 years old. I graduated in 2021 with a fashion merchandising degree with a bachelor's in fashion merchandising. I forgot to include that part. And I got my first job in retail buying about 9 to 10 months ago, and I'm here to tell you how. Okay, so first things first, when it comes to applying to jobs, we obviously format our resume and all of that. Now, something that I feel like they don't necessarily teach us a lot in school is when you're applying to different jobs, you shouldn't use the exact same resume. Now, this is something I did for the longest time. I was like, oh no, this is my resume. Like, I'm just gonna apply to this job because you just send your resume. Something I started doing whenever I was applying for jobs before I have the job that I have now, I decided that I was going to start curating my resume for the exact role that I was applying for, so that whenever the job poster or my future employer was looking at my resume, looked through probably hundreds of resumes, and what's going to make your resume stand out is those like little bonus words, like the words that they use in the job description. If you relate those back into your actual resume and relate it with accurate experience, it will help tremendously. I have personal experience with this back when I was a store manager, like right after post-grad. So it just goes to show that like using the right wording in your resume is huge. Okay, so let's say, I'm gonna do an example for this. Let's say the job description says we're looking for an analytical thinker. Now, what I would do to relate it back on my resume is I would tie in certain components of my resume or times in my career that I have used analytical problem-solving skills. This allows the job poster to look at my resume and think, oh, we're looking for an analytical person. Oh, look, it looks like Allison has experience, you know, pulling reports to analyze data. So important that you relate back tasks that you are familiar with that tie into what the job poster is looking for. My next tip is to apply. Don't expect the first job you apply for to be the job you get an interview for. The likelihood of that is so slim if you think about the amount of people that apply for a specific position. Obviously, there's only one person they can give that role to, and a lot of times recruiters are given like an allotted number of individuals to interview in order to get the actual candidate that they're going to offer the job to. Like if there's 500 applications, obviously they don't typically interview 500 people because it's a waste of time, so they take a sampling of the actual applicants that best meet the characteristics that they're looking for, and then they do interviews based off of that. So don't expect every job you apply for to get an interview because it's just so unlikely. I mean, shoot your shot, girl or boy, but I'm just saying, like, the likelihood is so slim. And just remember, like, the more you interview, the more practice you get. If I interviewed for my dream role, like for the first interview that I had, I probably wouldn't have gotten it because I didn't have as much practice as I needed. And just remember, like, regardless of if you get the job or not, any interview that you do is practice, and it's something you have to craft before you just like absolutely nail it. And this goes into my next point, and this could be controversial, but applying for jobs that you're overqualified for purely for interviewing practice. Now, I did this a ton post-grad because I knew that I was not a good interviewer and I wanted to be a good interviewer. I'm a very communicative individual and I often speak my mind, but the second that I was under pressure, I would freeze up, I would skip over my words, and I would just like get super anxious in the moment. And I know this is so common for so many of us. So in order to practice and actually like perfect your craft in interviewing, you have to actually interview. Like, I would have my boyfriend like ask me questions, but it's different because you're comfortable, and when you put yourself in an uncomfortable position and you're doing the real thing, you have no choice but to improve. Just keep in mind that recruiters literally ghost people for a living, so if you're using them for interview practice, it's okay because they're almost always using you too when they have to hit a certain quota of candidates to interview. So I don't think it hurts if you get an interview to use it as practice. But my point is that recruiters are going to have to interview regardless, so you might as well use the interview practice to your advantage because you might as well. My next tip is to reach out to the job poster or the recruiter individually about the role after you've applied, because it allows you to stand out and make a candid, organic interaction with the job poster from the start. And most of the time they remember an interaction like that and they're more likely to want to pursue an interview with you. And this also just gives you the opportunity to pitch yourself when you may not necessarily get an interview if you hadn't. If you think about all the applicants, if you pitch yourself without them giving you an interview, then it sets you apart already. Another thing I get a ton of questions about is merchandising degrees in correlation to getting a buying job. Now, in order to get a job in buying, it is not absolutely necessary to have a degree in fashion merchandising. I have so many colleagues now that did not go to school for merchandising. Now, I will say it will help you because it stands out on your resume. It's not as common. They see people with all different backgrounds, and when they see merchandising and you're applying for a merchandising role, it helps a ton for them to see that. But also, they look more at your experience. So if you have experience with merchandise or merchandising or buying type tasks, that's going to help you as well. So I don't necessarily think that you have to have a degree in merchandising to get a job in buying, but it helps, and we'll take the help we can get. I think regardless, it's just really important to outline the experience that relates to the role that you are applying for, because experience almost always overrules just your actual degree. My last tip would be to just keep an open mind. You're not going to get, well, you could, but the likelihood that you get your dream buying job post-grad is so slim. Like, I could have applied to like Nike as a buyer post-grad, but like there are so many more people that have adequate experience for that position. So you have to just like keep your mind open, because buying experience is buying experience. It doesn't necessarily matter what the product is, but you need to learn how. And it looks good on your resume no matter what the company is. Experience is experience. And that relates more to my role now. So I'm currently a merchandise planner at a company that essentially partners with zoos, aquariums, museums, that kind of attraction space. And we essentially source merchandise for the gift shops. So post-grad, is that the exact ideal scenario I wanted? No. But after interviewing at the company, I saw it as a great opportunity for me to gain experience. And a lot of times buying practices are very similar across the board. You're gonna have experience with open to buys, you're gonna have experience with assortment plans, you're gonna have experience with different systems, and most of the time they will relate back to other companies like Revolve or Nordstrom. Like, it does correlate. It may not be the exact same, but at the end of the day, you have experience that someone else may not. And that is how I got a job in retail buying. Those are all of my tips. Those are ways that I stood out as a candidate. Remember to just keep interviewing. It's not easy. Like, interviewing is incredibly hard, and it's something we all could always get better at. It's something I could always get better at. It's, you know, it's a learned practice. You don't just wake up and interview perfectly unless you're psycho, which there are psychos. That is my advice for you. Let me know if you have any like additional questions on this topic down below. I'd love to answer them. I can also make another video on this, but I may need like suggestions on what you guys want me to touch on. But thank you so much for watching this video. Definitely subscribe if you want more content like this, or just like my day-to-day life working in retail buying. I want to do more like work week in my life content, because if I had the resources that I'm providing now to you guys in college, it would have like changed the game for me. Like, I think it's so important to see what you're looking to achieve in someone else, if that makes sense. It just gives you like an insight into what you think you're looking for, and it may help you almost sway your decision one way or the other. But anyway, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like this video, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.